Hello and welcome to another wonderful live inspirational community collaboration. These are the locations where we bring together the bestest people we can find and help them share their inspiration and their wisdom with you, the people. We, the people, for you, the people, for us, the people, we, you, us. Exactly. Today is Tech Tuesday, and I have some wonderful guests. We have Benjamin Matter. If it don't mind, it don't matter. A doctor, surgeon, oral surgeon, and a healer, a breath worker, a transformation expert. And having moved on from all the medical world, he now works in the healing world, which is, of course, medical, as we found out last week on Tech Tuesday with Melinda Connor and Caitlin Connor. Let's clarify this, because I still don't know. Tell us about your previous qualifications. Who are you? What have you done in your life?
Okay.
I know you don't want to focus on it, but what have you done?
Tried to keep out of trouble as much as I could. Went to... I really wanted to go to art school, to be honest. But they said I would never do any well with that or make any money. So went into pharmacy. Then went into dentistry, then did 2 Royal College of Surgeons exams in England and Edinburgh to convert to surgery, oral surgery, implants, minor maxillofacial surgeries. And then I did a Master's in Clinical Education after that, which was an excellent one, actually, and I really enjoyed that. But it was really about the process of what I'd learned along the way during those experiences that helped shape me and transform me, and what I learned about sort of quality of life and prevention, really, as a means to facilitate within those times.
Okay.
So that was more the experience of what I'd done, who I'd be, and then it sort of led me into looking at more medical anthropology and how we're sort of delivering care and education now. And also I had this strong sort of spiritual beam throughout all of it, where I would be very sort of wondrous in the process, more like a Raja yoga, really just sort of questioning everything all the time. All this discernment that came up, of like, is this the limitation of where it is? Is this only as far as we can go? Why are we repeating the same things over and over again? Why is it that, some patients are healing better than others and they just seem to be a lot happier than others and they're healing better? Those sort of obvious things that sort of came across that a lot of the science at the time, wasn't answering.
So what did you find out?
Yeah.
Where are you up to now?
So where am I up to now?
Yeah. Did you go back to art school or something?
Yeah. Where am I now? Where
are you up to? What are you doing now? We know your history now. We got you did all your surgeons. You had certain realizations about the way the medical system works, and you looked at the history of medicine coming forwards. Is that what you meant?
Yeah. Medical anthropology, going forwards, yeah.
So then,
and you look at how Western medicine got its big fame because, it was able to keep people alive for 24 hours very effectively.
Right.
Things like antibiotics and antiemetics during the war came around. Aspirin happened as a default. But, in my pharmacy degree, I had a very interesting professor of toxicology say one amazing thing, which completely was one of the tracks that sent me on different ways, was that 90% of medical intervention or movement forward occurred from chance, and 10% was theory. And it's just huge that we still keep in our minds, that we can work things out with the mind, and keep working things out in order to make progress. And that's kind of what the shift has been for me, to transition out of that, because I got very mindy about things. I even got mindy about spiritual meetings, and trying to get education across in a mindy way. Like, how can we building different strategies and paradigms and everything like this. When really, the beauty of a lot of these educational leaders and spiritual leaders was that they were sat there very patiently, right, and very with a very good listening tone and observant, with something else about them. They were transcending something else. And for me, really, that led me to the fact that I wanted to be in the place, not only for the people around me, an embodiment of that, but also into the place where I'm the reality beyond the reality. Right? So actually going beyond the mind and trying to keep and live in that space.
Tell us about that.
Sorry?
Tell us about the beyond the mind space.
Well, in order to get there beyond the mind space, there was one person really, and I had met a lot of alternative healers on the way. My mother was big into alternative healing, so from a young age I was in homeopathy, Reiki, all of these sort of things, kinesiology, acupuncture, massage. And, a lot of these were adding to my portfolio of the way that I treated, cared for patients, and ran my, basically, beliefs about, the way I'd run surgery or whatever. And within that space there, in came my soul sister, which was amazing, said, you've got to try this breathwork girl, Katia Bustani. And she said within 2 sessions, there's something there about you, there's something different. And I said, well, I've always felt there's something different. But she said, no, there really is. And she ended up, well, she now is, like a sister and my business partner and everything. Amazing woman, amazing girl.
This is Katia.
Sorry?
This is Katia, who is now your business partner.
Katia, yeah. And she said one thing, another amazing thing to me, which was basically, Ben, you could choose joy and bliss. And I'm like, what? You're like, yeah, no, life's hard, it's suffering, I've worked really hard for all this stuff, it's going to get better when? It's going to get better in the future. As long as I have these things around me, it's going to be better for me, because that's what was promised, that was what's on the cards, right? And she said, well, how's that going for you?
that old question. I love those questions.
Yeah. And it was from and then she sort of seemed to, the community with her and around her seemed to have these sort of Jedi-like qualities. Like they were kind of just really in their peace. They had found their peace. And it was just, I just wanted to be around Jedis and X-Men rather than people talking about, private pension plans and golf handicaps. It was really boring.
Right.
Not that that's important for them, and that's fine, and that's all good for everyone, but I just found those sort of people much more stimulating, and also those skills that they have. We'd go into restaurants together, and she would just basically get the best table in the house, right, without doing much, but just actually looking straight into the eyes of the waitress and really connecting with her, right, and so I kind of wanted to develop, those sort of skills and see what that was about. And I went down this pathway, basically, of rebirthing breathwork. And rebirthing breathwork is an amazing pranayama yoga type, that allows you to connect the breath and find the space between the breath. So it's the power of the breath within the breath, and that power within the breath obviously is the divine source or the God, or infinite eternal energy. Obviously, and that access to that is one of the components of healing, of course, and healing these multiple consciousness levels or traumas that you have throughout your life that then make you the person that you think you are, and getting out of the way of yourself. So it then goes to me to be a healer. I'm born it, kind of, that's my vocation. I've chosen healing or education of healing at some stage, And you know, I then look at healing in a 180 perspective way. That it's you know, we're very austere about our deaths, aren't we? We're very austere about dying. Well, why can't we just change it and actually say we're immortal until we choose death? You know, like what is it preventing us from seeing healing as a you know, illness as a healing opportunity? Yeah. Rather than, you know, it's going to come to an end, and therefore, you know, death's going to be the final door.
I think the issue comes where people don't feel that that power exists within them. They feel it's something external to them, and everything in society tells us that.
Correct, Prof. Yeah, you've got it. And so then you know, what you're doing then as a healer then is to change or shift that over. And within the limitations of the scientific or medical field that I could work in, I saw that was then becoming limited for me. I couldn't actually empower the person to take control for themselves, you know, the patient, client, individual, to take control of their own healing and their own energy body, right? Which is more important, and their emotional mind. So if we then go into all of these sort of things and what's causing death, you know, it then goes, you know, and I don't really want to keep too science about it, because I think with a lot of the science you then go back into left brain, analytical mind, all the rest of it. And actually I'm quite interested in, you know, not having the answers so much, but having ideas, because I've just learned theory after theory after theory, and everything's a theory until you put things into practice. Right. And I'm really interested at delivering, you know, life for everyone and shifting humanity in that capacity as best I can.
So what else is there? You've got mind, emotions.
So the three things before death, you know, are ignorance, okay, which is obviously captured in the mind. Poor diet, yeah, and you know, if you're still eating meat, you really need to question sort of what you're doing and what pathway or what enlightenment you're on, because you know there's a lot of dead energy in the meat, etc. Like, yeah. And then the second one is this amazing thing that no one's really got to, apart from this chap called Leonard Orr, which I had the, you know, absolute pleasure of meeting 2 or 3 times, and the guy was completely blessed, you know. And he'd spent a lot of time in India with Babaji investigating this concept called physical immortality consciousness. And he then believed that emotional energy pollution was the second part of the trio, okay? So basically, our chakras that are spinning, etc., will pick up other people's emotions when we're around, you know, for example, when you're sitting on a plane, you know, and you pick up all that yucky energy and you feel like death at the end of it, you know, and you feel really depressed. You know, there's all that sort of stuff, right? But also, you've also got your own 8 biggies as well, okay? You've got your birth traumas, you've got your parental disapproval syndrome, you've got your karmic debt from previous lives, you've got, you know, senility consciousness to deal with when you get older. You've got religious trauma, you've got school traumas as well, okay? And, you know, in a very simple way, you know, this started to all make sense. You know, it can't be quantified or, you know, or measured in a scientific way, but it actually starts to realise.
Well, some people would debate that, whether it can be measured. I mean, Tiffany is working with measurement devices.
Yes, yeah, well, it certainly is. And then there's the amazing work by Fanny Van Leer as well, who wrote with Leonard, who's doing intelligence, emotional bioflow, you know, and she's now looking with doctors, psychologists, you know, at the impact of the third technique of breathing, which is nasal breathing with a person, and the emotional effects within the body that change the intellect and the energy source.
So breathing seems to be a big key for the work that you
breathing's one of them. So there's to heal the emotional energy pollution, you have to do, you know, five or six major things. Okay, One is the mind, okay, which is mantra yoga, Maha Mantra, Om Namah Shivaya, okay,
Right.
saying the word of God, or actually saying, having that beautiful energy around you creates a space for the mind to still and that kind of energy to come in.
What makes it beautiful as opposed to just saying iPhone charger, iPhone charger, iPhone charger?
But I think you had a guy on about Sanskrit and the power of Sanskrit.
Lots,
right?
and then we've got Jeffrey Armstrong on Friday, who is probably the world's leading non-Indian Sanskrit knowledge person.
Well, I mean, the power behind the word of iPhone hasn't got much, energy or materialized grounding.
How dare you? iPhone.
I beg your pardon.
iPhone. Okay, so but that's what I mean. Like what distinguishes it? What's the difference? What's really happening?
If you break down Om Namah Shivaya, right, it's infinite intelligence, which is the male part, infinite energy, which is the female part, and infinite manifestation, which is the abundance of everything, or all the possibility, the tree of life.
So it's because it's the origin language of most of the language we're using.
Yeah, absolutely. But also, I think it resonates with a lot of power. I mean, Om itself, right? Is the universal 528 hertz frequency. Yeah. So you're delivering that kind of oneness with,
Okay, cool. Okay, so we got mantra.
So we got mantra, which is mind, and then we've got affirmations which go in there as well. Then we've got air, okay, which is the breathing, okay. So conscious connected breathing. Even 20 connected breaths, learning the 20 connected breaths can actually re-nourish your blood system and nervous system just like that, okay?
Do you like the Wim Hof breath? Do you like the Wim Hof stuff?
Wim Hof, exactly. He's done amazing things to create breathing awareness, as so many others have, and it's amazing. When you actually go into the details of all of it, which I'm quite a stickler for now because I've been studying for 6 years, is that a lot of these things are still based, and these breathing techniques are on the stimulatory pathway, which Tiffany was talking about, which, they hit the stomach through mouth breathing and stimulate the vagus nerve, okay? And they cause these stimulatory effects. But if you're not doing breath with these other elements that I'm going to tell you about, then you kind of go, yeah, breathing was amazing, done all that, but I've lost interest.
Right.
Yeah?
So what are the other elements?
So the other one is fire, okay?
Right.
And we're very cautious and afraid of fire, but we really need to re-look and design the way that we actually approach fire. Fire is an amazing healing tool. It's like it's as healing as food. And if you can sit with the fires, it opens the chakras up, it spins the energy bodies, okay, and it clears, okay, a lot of the emotional energy pollution away. It just burns it away from you, okay. It's like that layer of dust that you picked up or dirt, and it just clears it all off. So actually sitting with a fire and a flame is really important. Now, a lot of people obviously can't have access to an open fire, okay. So what can you do then? Well, you can use like candles, tea lights, etc.,
right,
and place those around you. It's not as strong, obviously, but it's good. So fire is very important, and a lot of the Indians, ceremonies, etc., they have dhunis, which are fire temples, which go for 24 hours.
Yeah. We had a guy on who did Agnihotra.
Oh yeah.
The Agnihotra stuff.
Yeah.
The other week. So the fire. So fire is in some way magical, is what you're saying. There's an element there that freezes.
It's one of the eternal elements. Okay, so the real point behind the whole which I'll go on to. I'm diverting again. Is truth, simplicity, and love. Let's get back to just truth, simplicity, and love. Okay. Let's make it really simple. Okay, and within those is understanding. That the truth is that you need to clear your energy body. You need to keep. It's all very good having a good physical body and a good mental mind, but those two things, you still have to be aware of your energy body inside.
And so is the fire the energy body?
No. The fire is similar too, but it's not. The fire is used to clean the energy and invigorate the energy body. Yeah. But it is the internal fire as well. You do have an internal fire.
Like the chi, the prana.
The prana, exactly, my man. So, and then we're going down to water, okay? And, water's amazing. The main thing that really shifted my life, and by the way, I'll tell you why all of these things are good later, because, they've made huge effects into my life and the way that I've gone, and now the way that I live and see and delivered abundance, and abundance in all areas. But the water is about cleaning as well, like cleaning the pollution away, the energy pollution away. So you need to be bathing twice a day, and this is either a shower or a bath, but obviously it's better in a bath to breathe if you can.
Does a cup of tea count?
Not really, my man, but I'll let you off.
All right, I have a couple of those a day. All right, so hold on. What is this? Why bathing? What? If you have to be bathing, then what about the people in the olden days that didn't have access to water and stuff? Were they all just because they didn't have water that they could bathe in, like trapped?
Well, they were more likely to take on their conditioning a lot more and die a lot earlier, basically.
Okay.
Not only for sanity reasons and infection reasons, but also for their own purification. These are purification practices.
And the bathing is for
the energy body.
Sorry, the bathing is for purification, not for like cleanliness of like
all of the inadvertently they help with that. Yeah.
It's hot here. It's hot. Got a fucking scarf on. Okay, sorry. Right.
But these are all purification practices. Right. So water purification twice a day, either sunrise, sunset, before and after, around that time, cleaning away all this dirty energy pollution that you've picked up. Okay. Now there's different water types as well. Yeah, cold and hot, obviously. Right. Yeah, and hot opens up the chakras. Cold closes them down but cleans them. I just had a friend say you're perfect. That's beautiful. Yeah.
Said what?
But then there's also the different types, like seawater, right, river water,
right,
and thermal baths, and they all do amazing things too. And where we run our courses on this beautiful Greek island, we have all three water types, which is amazing. So we're very lucky there. Anyway, the minimum you can do is do 2 showers a day. And that really will change everything for you after a couple of weeks. Honestly, the shift is amazing.
Right.
Your personal aliveness is huge.
Right. Interesting. I've personally, I don't think I've ever really done 2 showers a day, except when it was really hot.
I can smell you from here.
Except when it was really hot in India, I might have done 2 showers, but apart from that, yeah, it kind of somewhere feels like it's a waste of water, and it's I'm already clean. I can but I'll try it. Look, I'll try it.
I think a portion of asceticism here, is really important, but also abundance and relaxed asceticism, which is great. Yeah. So the next one is where are we at? Earth.
Earth, yeah. If we're elementing.
Okay, and Earth is like massage, which is amazing.
Right.
Okay.
Touch.
Music, food,
dance,
which comes into there. Okay, which overlaps again, if you're looking at that.
Dance.
Sorry, dance, making love, all the great grounding, earthy things that you can do, Also, just going back to the water, the quality of water that you're drinking as well is really important.
Right. To look at. And speaking of water, Tiffany says that ocean air is particularly good as a purifier.
Yeah. Definitely. Well, that's got air and water in it, so that's good.
Right, so it's
you're doing 2 purifications at once.
And what about the salt? Is the salt, because salt is an interesting element. So is the fact that it's salty as well, does that have an added kind of cleansing effect?
I couldn't answer that, Mark. To be honest, but
sorry, we don't spend much time.
For my sea sailing days and everything like that, yes, probably it does.
I was going to say, we don't spend much time at the ocean in England. It's too bloody cold.
Yeah. Well, I'm here on a pass through because basically, you know, I was supposed to be in Bali and then in this Mediterranean as well. So I kind of got caught out here, but it's been interesting because I've had to do some sort of ancestral healing. I think this
Right,
time around, and
right,
it's been really beautiful. But to witness England in peace, man, has been unbelievable.
really,
Super beautiful,
right. I mean,
magical country, man.
when the spring happens, England is gorgeous.
It is really gorgeous, mate. You know, and May is just
Right,
the blossoms out and
right.
everything. It's just
Good old
that
Brighty.
is the healer and educator.
Nature.
That's it.
Right. Well, so let's talk about that then. Nature, because nature has all the elements in, right?
It does, and it has all the answers if you're ready to listen and see and feel it.
So what does feel it mean? Because I mean, what if you're angry? Does feel it mean getting angry? You know, do you have to go and punch a wall or something?
Well, you could go and punch a tree if you like, but I think my grandfather did that as well. He punched a tree trying to show off to my grandmother actually, and broke his hand. He was a forester. He planted like over 1 million trees in the UK.
Right.
Amazing guy.
Right.
And no, anyway. Well, actually, when you walk in nature, so when I go on my walk, and you can feel the energy change, right? You can feel the system, and this then beautifully goes in. And thanks for bringing it up, Prof. Is that basically, the environment in which you're in, yeah, can bring up these emotional energy pollutions as well, yeah.
Right.
So your own death urge, okay, can bring up emotional energy pollution. So the environment that you choose is really important. It needs to be a kind of healing environment, and do people have a choice? And I'm always thinking about, the poor old mum who's got, 4 kids in a council estate, how is she in control of her environment and stuff?
Yeah.
Well, hopefully she can, go for a walk around the block, once, we haven't been completely locked down in the UK. You're allowed to do one exercise.
Right, I've heard you've
so
got limits.
There's hopefully some wood around her that she can get into. And when you get into nature, the vibe changes.
Right.
And people become calmer, and there's a peace, and there's a life force there. There's a life force that is at peace, that doesn't say anything, that doesn't need to say anything. It's the expression of the beauty that it is, right?
Yeah.
So, that is why it's such a healer, the ancient vision quests, for example, even the elements that make up nature, they're all there for you to use and abide with. And actually, the thing that I didn't mention is after my master's, I took a sabbatical and I actually went and lived in a woods for 6 months on a Greek island, and it was the most fundamentally life-changing experience of my life. It was unbelievable in the sense that it took me 2 months to get out the way of myself.
Right.
Where I was really saying, "What the hell are you doing? You haven't got any man."
Right. All the judgments and the voices and
all
the
the
fears.
voices, man, and it was just like everywhere, going nuts. And then one morning, I woke up, and it was honestly probably like the most amazing ecstatic feeling in the world, which was to experience human being. And everything looked more different. The trees were just so beautiful. The rivers and the water was just amazingly clear. And there was just this freedom of space in the mind, and it was almost like eating the red pill in the Matrix. You can't go back from there.
Now, you mentioned this term beyond mind, which is a very familiar term to me, mainly because I did go beyond mind about 8 years ago, maybe 10. And when I came back, all these words, they don't work. When I stood up in my body, the Markabadi body, and then I went outside, everything was as you described it. It was that awakening of space, that awakening of the divine beauty and perfection in the now. Is that what you would describe your experience as, that divine perfection in the experience of the now?
Totally. and it was almost like you were seeing it from a different space, absolutely in the moment and in the presence of all of it, So there was no judgment there. There was no mind involved. There was no left-sided analytical stuff. There was a balance of the right and left hemispheres for the first time. There was the beyond, the outside, which is what I really want to stay in all the time. It's amazing.
Right. And so what? And I do want to get to ancestral healing. I want to talk about that. But
yes,
what is your practice you do to remain awake in the beyond?
Sorry. The other two bits, Prof, that I forgot to add in was that you need to put in love, okay, as well, which is a huge one. Which is, having the willingness to process other people's negativity.
Right.
And then grace, of course. Yeah. Okay. And being in the grace.
What is the grace?
Of the beauty. I think there's a lot of bhakti in grace, the devotion, but there's also, which is, I needed to get in there. I wanted to get bhakti in at some point. To be, to be godlike, to actually, be really humble and kind and wonderful and those sort of things, and have the patience, okay, to be in that space.
Jeffrey Armstrong was telling me the origin of the word patience. I hope I get this fucking right. Oh, Jesus. Anyway, it comes from giving attention to what you give your time to. That was it, time. And the word patience origins in Sanskrit from that which you have time for.
Beautiful.
And it changes everything, because patience means like a dedication of time, a dedication of self to time, to it. So it's like, giving yourself.
But I think, one of my main purposes in this lifetime was to learn, I think a lot of us have to learn patience, it's actually given to me, learn patience. And the way that I've learned patience is that, there's no time anymore, there's no time structure for me in place anymore. Everything is as it's meant to be and endless, it's abundant. The physical body has to go through certain stages, obviously, but I'm looking forward to them. I'm ready for them, and I'm looking forward to that experience. And because I've got these tools, these physiological, spiritual purification tools to help me, everything's possible. It's great.
I always find that statement that, how language traps us within realms, and that's, what Jeffrey's going to be speaking about on Friday, but, how language traps us, looking forward to something. For me, like, I want to say that also, like, oh, I'm looking forward to talking with you, Ben, but because my focus is on being present, I'm actually not looking forward. I'm looking now. But looking forward to is like, I'm like living in the expectation of the future.
Yeah.
Do you find that's...
It's a conditioning phrase, isn't it?
Right.
It's like mind the gap, or but, try, should. I've removed those from my vocabulary completely, and within 1 month of doing that, my life changed.
Really? What?
Fundamentally for the better. It wasn't in this space of, because if we break it down in the simplest sense, and I'll just do this with very simple words, but is the thing that is the negative ending to the sentence, right? So it was a beautiful day, but it rained.
Right.
Yeah. It was a beautiful day and it rained. Well, that's changed everything, hasn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And, try is sort of sitting on the fence. I'll give that a try. I'll do that. I'll try that. I'll try it. Either you will or you won't.
Right. As Yoda said.
Even if you don't want to, that's great too, man.
Right.
Just don't do it.
Right.
but at least you're in action, right? Either way, but tries, sat on the fence. And then, if anyone's saying should to you, that's their stuff. You really must, or you should, or you should be doing these things. That's their stuff. It's not your stuff. It's their concern or their fear. So, I mean, again, going back to looking forward when you said that as well, it's like, predicting a future event based on the conditioning with some fear involved or whatever,
right.
And I don't really want to, I'm into aliveness and life and whatever promotes life or gives me an abundant life and gives others abundant lives and gives love and, all that around us. So if words can translate into helping that process, which a lot of the Sanskrit does, then that's beautiful. But also remember that energy, thought, word, and thought is word is the materialization, the earthly materialization of thought. It's just the next step down. Right. So, you can be a spell master and a wizard like yourself with words,
I mean, there's an encoding, isn't there, that happens with words. They're spells. They're magical spells.
100%.
I mean, I grew up in England like you. I assume you grew up in England by your accent. And, one of the things I had to cure myself from is the incipient sarcasm that I had to grow up with. Like even the comical joke of you said, "Oh, I can smell you from here," right? It's like, that is so British.
I know, man. But we could have done so many more.
Absolutely.
Afternoon.
Absolutely.
We could have fitted right back into that.
I don't think that Americans understand how much effort it takes for Brits not to be snipey at each other.
That's why when I met you on those stairs, in San Francisco, and it was like, all right, love, fancy a boogie. It was just beautiful. I just, I've never felt so endeared towards a Manchester accent before, and it was just like, oh man, because I'd had Californian for like the last 2.5, 3 months. Right.
I tell you what, when a Brit turns up in America, you remember.
You really noticed it.
You notice it. So of that, obviously, words are spells, and we must. It's more beneficial to our being and our wellness to pay attention to the words we're using and focus upon the positive affirmations and the direct statements rather than tries and expectations of others, musts and excuses and all those things. It really does have an effect.
Yeah, I mean, when you're in a spiritual community, you don't really need to talk much. You've noticed that, and actually you can speak a lot with eyes. And I find that very powerful. I mean, it's one of the things that endeared me to you, actually. To be honest, you've got amazing eyes. They sort of they tell a story and they divine, and they sparkle. And that means that there's something eternal going on, I think. Not particularly yours, but
right. Okay, I thought you were saying mine. Oh, fuck you then. No, thank you. And yes, you're right. The eyes, windows to the soul, and everything. Few things. We're coming towards the end, but I do want to say Abby has joined us on the Zoom. Abby, I don't know who Abby is. Abby,
she's a very good friend of mine.
Oh, Abby's one of yours. Okay, great. Abby, if you want to come on and ask Ben something or make a comment, fine, we'll get to you. Hang there, but be ready to come on within the next 20 minutes, probably in about 10 minutes. Okay, good. Cool. Abby. Okay, back to this point, ancestral healing. Let's talk about that because there is a curiosity in me and others as to where do these things store this ancestry, because I really don't buy into this whole notion that, because having gone beyond mind, the place I went, there was no one else there, including me, right? The first thing I noticed was Markabadi was not there. And I'm like, but it was all normal. Markabadi wasn't there, nor was there anything else. There were no souls, there were no past shit, there was nothing. There was just the void. And I was the void. And it was beautiful and perfect. Great. Now, so my direct experience, my direct realization is I've been to a place where I am it all without Markabadi being there. Okay. And in that place, there was nothing to do, no problem to solve, no evolution, no past lives to escalate me up to the winning point of, oh, now I'm enlightened. There was no scale of anything. So I ask, where do ancestral memories store?
Good, very good. So was that, just as a comment to that, was that a very blissful, joyful place that you were in?
Absolutely, and permanent.
Yeah, amazing. Well, you know,
but it was, just to answer that question a little bit deeper, it was also not as you would describe bliss, joy, or have ever experienced it, because it wasn't a human a being. And so all the definitions that Markabadi had about joy and blissness and happiness and loneliness, oh, won't it be lonely in the void? No, because there ain't no loneliness there, mate, because there's no two. Yeah. And if there's no two, there's no interaction and comparison. Yeah. And, now I've got someone, now I don't. Loneliness.
On a physical, you know, so the body that you've inherited as a soul has had the physical makeup of it has had a lineage, right?
Great.
You know, to some greater or lesser extent.
Absolutely.
Whether you've had a past life, if you're into past lives at all, into another incarnation of another body from another place, right. You know, you're still, you know, in this body that I chose, you know, I believe that I've had quite a lot of English or British stuff to process, you know,
right.
Or whatever that goes with.
Well, because your ancestry is British.
Because my actual the bones and flesh of it, right. which were just thought and everything like that, is made up of a lot of that other stuff.
Right.
And I've come into this guy, you know. So there is a component of that to heal. Okay, and then there's also the karmic load that goes with that as well.
Right.
But, you know, if I don't want to get too stuck on karmic debt, because, you know, I mean, Ram Dass came up in conversation, you know, yesterday, I believe, or the day before.
Yeah.
On your show.
Yeah, Sridhar was good friends with him. Love
that beautiful man. Yeah. Same as Daddy Janki that passed away similar time. Who I'm a massive fan of as well, Brahma Kumaris. And if you ever want to do like words and thought for today, Daddy Janki was one of the best, you know, nice. At writing things. Anyway, I was looking into this a lot recently, is that, you know, people can get hung up on karmic debt, you know, in the sense that, you know, I'm having a very privileged, well-to-do life because I must have been very good in another life. Right. Therefore, I can get away with all the sins that come with having flying people around over the world and doing whatever there it is, you know. So, what, you know, there is a funny side to the karmic stuff, but it definitely does feature. Okay, so when I say it, I almost say it fairly loosely, but I do feel now, like, you know, I don't really want to be in England, you know, anymore, living here, you know. I've sort of freed myself to be on more, you know, of a world sort of play and, you know, with people around the world that I love as well, and brothers and sisters around the world. So it's not like I'm attached to a place anymore in that sense.
Okay. So Abby has posted a question. She wants us to... She wants you to tell us about your journey of ego death, and how you're moving through the victim energy.
Oh, very.
Yeah, she knows you. She likes.
I didn't ask her to tell us.
Yeah, no, obviously not.
That's a good one.
Yeah. So, but I mean, ego death we're talking about in a bit, but I'd love to hear your story of ego death, because the beyond mind is an ego death. Obviously, you're not there, so you have to have died. But
of course,
I'm definitely interested.
I think Quincy Robin Jones, who's the Quincy Jones, said that ego is, you know, our insecurities all dressed up. Yeah. And the ego death for me basically was, you know, it's always, it's a survivor, right? It's a survivalist type consciousness, yeah, that wants to be in there, and it comes up at the same levels, you know, with you all the time. You think you get enlightened, and then there you are again, boom. The old death.
What I think about in those times is, you know, in Superman 3, you're old enough to know Superman 3, where Richard Pryor say, "It wants to live," and it's like I always think of that for the ego, you know.
Yeah.
It's like, even though you've gone beyond, it wants to live.
And I've been fooled by it many times, you know, and you know, it works in mysterious, beautiful, wonderful ways. You know, and that's by, you know, keeping an awareness on all of that is huge. But, you know, sometimes simply just surrendering to the fact that it can happen, or it might happen, is okay. You know, that's just it. Anyway, what the dangerous side of that is then going back into this, you know, victim consciousness, you know, and it really is our own responsibilities. If there's anything we can do as humans, is to heal our relation with victim consciousness. And that doesn't mean like an over exaggeration to the other side, to be like a rebel or a victor, or, you know, someone that's really confident with all of it. It actually means going deep into the pain of where that originates from, you know, and being really honest about that. And, you know, as facilitators in this day and age now, well, my friends and I, you know, and my colleagues in our line of work, you know, we're really embracing people's pain. You know, it's good to celebrate pain, you know, and be there to help people through it. So keeping an environment that's very, very safe, that's nurturing, almost like a womb, to allow these things to happen. And then keeping an open mind on everything is key as well. So I don't know whether I've answered a question there, but certainly it forms part of the biggies.
You know, totally.
You know?
The main point is, find yourself or create for yourself a safe womb and go into the discomfort. It's never about avoidance, is it?
It's never about avoidance, because it's going to come up and bite you in the ass at some point.
Right. Because I talk about the universe, and the universe doesn't avoid anything.
Doesn't avoid anything at all. It's abundantly there for us to access, you know, and give us its energy and light, you know, all the time. And it's interesting, this period, isn't it? You know, that you know, for those that are kind of been almost, I mean, I've been sort of doing this journey thinking the world's mad 5 years ago, and like, when's it going to pause? You know, when are we actually going to put a pause on the world, because it's just escalating out of control? And then all of a sudden, you know, you've got this amazing pause button given to you. And it's like, wow, it's fucking brilliant. Let's listen.
Do you know, I mean, pretty much everyone I've had on the show is excited about this.
Hugely excited. They're hugely excited, Prof. You know, I think for the guys that have been, you know, just spending shitloads of money on Vipassanas, trying to get
it's sort of an anti. That's sort of weird, that, because if Vipassana is donation based, so I know what you mean. But
you know, going to all these courses, you know, trying to get this space for solitude, of, you know, silence, of peace, of, you know, all of those areas for self-reflection, you know, and it's just been handed to you, you know.
I think one of the questions I want to ask you quickly before it's too late is something that came up with me recently. You know, I was talking with my master, and this notion of Markabadi has emotions, and he has stuff that comes up, and he gets angry and he gets happy, and, you know, Markabadi, it wants to live. The ego is still here, even though the ego died for me to awaken beyond mind. The ego is still here, and it has issues and stuff, right? It has insecurities and different things like that. How much do you think we need to focus on helping the ego to feel resolved? Like the degree to which it's a trap to go into the ego fixing it. Oh, I could just fix a little bit more and I'll get more perfect. Oh, I'll fix a little bit more. Oh, I'm dead now. as opposed to leaving all the ego drama completely and sitting in the stillness of transcendence? Like,
which one feels better?
Which one feels better? Well, the transcendence, of course. I mean, feels
Well,
better.
then do that.
But then
You've answered it.
But then the Markabadi is still here with all of his stuff, and in getting to reconnect with the transcendent energy, the ego almost has to get out of the way, has to die each time. And my question is, how much comfort does the ego, like, is the optimum amount of comfort and wombage to give the ego? Wombage, lovely bit of wombage. How much wombage is good to give the ego?
That's a lexicon, Prof. Well done.
How much wombage? I'm going to write it down. How much wombage is good? Womb bag. How much wombage is good to give the ego?
Well, look, I mean, you know, the guru and master that is, you know, Katya and my master, my beautiful sister Federica's master as well, you know, Leonard, and my friend Danny as well, amazing. You know, he said, it's really sad because I had a load of people that I loved to pieces that were on my wavelength into this idea of physical immortality consciousness, that, you know, they were taking their time to be immortals. And they ended up dying because, you know, and then he was asked, why did they die when they were, you know, taught all these things from you and, you know, given all these lessons? He said, well, they were still quite attached to their conditioning. You know, they were still quite fond of little bits of their conditioning, you know, and the whole point, you know, another amazing word that harks back to you know, religious historic times is repentance. And repent is refeel or rethink. Pensar, think again on your thoughts or your patterns or your habits. And if you can't do that, then they're going to come and bite you in the ass, or the ego will come back again, right? The other thing that I just want to bring in quickly as well, in terms of that, and it maybe it does answer the question or it doesn't, but it might be related, is, you know, sin in Greek, right, translates as missing the mark.
Yep. Missing me.
You know that?
Yeah.
Missing the mark.
Yeah, I know that.
Right? But what is the mark?
Yeah.
You know, what is the mark? And it is the, you know, the constant staying of oneness, or the constant being of oneness. Yeah. So when you repent on your sins, well, you're rethinking about being in the constant state of oneness. So what stops or prevents you from being in the constant state of oneness? You know, ego has to come in and stop you from being there.
Right.
So it's like, it has to, because it's not interested in anything else but its own survival.
Right.
It doesn't care whether you die, okay? It just cares about its own survival.
That it knew itself.
And it's part of that monkey mind stuff that people always go on, which I'm glad now that I just don't get that anymore. I can use my mind as a tool, you know, which is amazing.
Amazing. Benjamin, thanks so much for coming on. Ben, thanks so much. I've realized that there's another call happening at 4, so I have to be off in 2 minutes. But I just wanted to see, where can people get hold of you? What's happening in your world? Are you seeing clients?
www.globalbreathingawareness.com.
Okay.
We've been trying to work on an app for a while. We're still looking for some partners in that as well. A Gappy app, amazing.
Right. Okay. What do you need?
Well, what do most people need?
Floose. You need floose. Manish floose. Give us some lurker, lad. Okay, so you need some floose. Do you need any programmers or fun stuff like that?
We're okay, but right. Yeah, thank you for that.
All right, cool.
Yeah,
right.
So anyway, Om Namah Shivaya.
Thank you so much, Benjamin, for coming on. It's been a great pleasure, great chat. I'll just go into my sum up. Thank you to my guests today, Tiffany and Benjamin. We talked about creation, and again, the triad comes up. the triad comes up, and it keeps coming up, and there is a cycle of these things. And no matter what's going on in the duality, there's always the balance and the reharmonization of the reharmonization of these things. Ben, I'm muting you. The reharmonization of the duality. There's balance. Look after yourselves. Be present with yourselves and breathe. Remember, everything is already okay. Okay? So, I've got a book Evolve. Check it out online. Otherwise, see you tomorrow. Thanks. Like and share where you can. Lots of love.